Associates focuses on providing senior care management and transition counseling for the older adult and their family. She has a Master of Arts degree in clinical gerontology with an emphasis in counseling psychology at Notre Dame de Namur University in Belmont, California. She also holds a Bachelor of Arts in General Studies from the University of South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. Kathy is available to share her expertise and knowledge in the field of aging. She offers a variety of insight into the aging process and teaches communication techniques when working with the individual experiencing memory loss. She is available as a panelist, a trainer, a lecturer, and an educator. Please welcome Kathy Faenzi.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me here today. I always love to share what I'm so passionate about, and that's really helping seniors with health care and learning how to cope with the daily challenges that we all will face. Some of us are healthier than others, but I want to just let you know that I have studied health and psychology throughout the years. I've been doing my practice for 14 years, and it's really about navigating that process of aging. And so today I want to focus on 5 key points. But before I start, I wanted to ask you, what are you doing to make your brain, to make sure your brain is healthy? What are you doing? You know, we all think about what we can do to be physically fit, you know, and we talk about exercise, nutrition, and all of that, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about a little bit today for the brain. But you can have a healthy brain because we want it to stay whole. So I'm going to ask, how many of you want to live to be 90? How many to 100? Okay, that's good. So do you know where the fountain of youth is located? Between your ears. It's our brain. It controls everything. It's the most metabolic structure in our universe. It weighs 3 pounds and can fit in the palm of your hand. It is made up of cells that create every idea that we have. So we are in control. So aging grace doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, slide into illness or have, a disability. It means that we can make healthy choices. And with those healthy choices, we can be productive. And we can have great motivation. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but we want to be spiritually vigor and really look at how we can live the very best life we have today on this earth. So overview, I'm going to talk about 5 key points that support a healthy brain. Awareness of your own brain health, making better decisions, avoid things that hurt your brain, engage in regular, healthy brain habits, and be connected, sharing your love with others. So let's start. Awareness of your own brain health. So these are 3 brains of 60-year-olds. Which one would you want? Well, we've got a healthy one over there on the right, and then we've got the overweight, sleep apnea brain. And if you look at that brain, and I'm going to focus more on sleep apnea today because we know that the warning signs are poor memory. Poor memory doesn't mean that, you forgot where you put your keys or, but if you forgot where you maybe parked your car, that'd be a little bit different, and if your memory is affecting how you live your daily life, then we've got a little concern. But if it's just like short-term memory where you can't remember people's names, or that's habit. There's ways of learning how to do those things. So don't think that you have a bad memory just because you have a little short term. If it affects your life where you are no longer safe. A brain fog, a lot of women have brain fog because of their hormone deficiency. You know, I always suggest that women look at their thyroid, men too. Look at your hormone deficiency. Have your doctor check for that. Depression is the sister and brother of Alzheimer's disease or other dementias. If you're in a depression, it's not again having a sad day. It's more of you can't get up in the morning. You don't want to live anymore. You have no motivation. And then overweight, as we'll talk a little bit about, there's a lot of reasons for being overweight, depression and dementia, just being overall not happy with yourself, or eating the wrong foods. It's the choices we make. But your physical size of your brain and your function actually decreases with weight gain. And, you know, I never thought about that, but the more weight you gain, the less your brain is really working. It's all related because, again, our brain controls everything we do. So let's talk a little bit really quickly about sleep apnea because that really hit home with me that sleep apnea looks the same as with someone in a brain scan that has Alzheimer's disease or some type of dementia. Sleep apnea is a serious situation that most people just let it go. It is not getting oxygen to the brain, which can affect how you think. You wake up in the morning, you haven't, sleep deprivation is very serious. I know because sometimes I have insomnia. And I wake up and I'm like, I've got to perform, and I know I'm in brain fog or I'm just not with it that day. So it can cause strokes, depression, anxiety. These are just some of the things that, that sleep apnea puts you in risk. Diabetes, heart congestion. So I really want to say to you, if you know, or sleeping next to someone, or if someone has told you you snore a lot, you're not breathing, you gasp at night. I listen to my husband sometimes. I'm working on him because a lot of times, there are people that don't want to go to the doctors or they just ignore it. Oh, I'm fine. But sleep apnea can put 14, if you take care of sleep apnea, it can put 14 more years on your life. So go take a sleep study. It's a simple sleep study. Find out what really is going on with you in the middle of the night when you hold your breath and then all of a sudden you're snoring really loud. You're catching your breath. The oxygen is not also getting to the other organs in your body, so therefore it can cause a lot of problems. So number 2 was, let's start making decisions today. Better decisions. It's our choice to make healthy decisions. Watch your sugar levels. Sugar can be very detrimental. It affects different parts of the brain. It affects the cortex of the brain. ADD, low dopamine, it increases disorganization. High quality food with protein. Protein is very healthy for us. Protein gets us going. It gives us fuel. Avoid high sodium. We all know what salt can do. It's fluid retention. So fluid retention is not good for our body, but we need fluid. So don't mistake high sodium and fluid retention for not drinking water. Limit your toxins. We do our best in our environment to not put ourselves in harm's way. We want to make sure that we're not standing behind, a car that's, needs to be smogged, or, or other ways that we can get it. I've worked with a lot of mechanics. They work in those garages, and they're smelling those fumes all the time. Painters. People that work around those kind of toxins have to be careful. Limit your toxin. Know your intention. This is where Dr. Daniel Amen focuses on then what? Then what's going to happen if we don't make a good choice? What's going to happen to us? Know your intention and your motivation. Get motivation. So when I say know your intention, I mean, why do we want to be healthy? Why do we want to have a healthy brain and not, possibly get a dementia? Who's important in our life? Our husband, our children. Why do we want to be here? Our great-grandchildren. All the things that we can experience with family and with others. What is your intention? Who's important to you? Motivation is everything. We need to stay motivated, and we do that by being positive, generating new ideas. Remember those brains, contrary to what people believe, that cells don't rejuvenate, they don't create, they don't still grow in your brain. That's not true. It's been proven that the more we do, the more the brain will continue to grow and develop. It's when you don't use it, when you're not motivated, when you're not focusing and setting new goals and challenging yourselves, is when the brain stops. So it can happen. We just have to make the right choices and establish good habits in our life. Avoid things that hurt your brain. Now, there's been a lot of studies on concussions now with children playing in football and different, sports like that. If I had a young child, I would think twice about it because it is serious. We look at boxers, we look at what happens to, individuals that are getting hit in the head constantly. If you've ever taken a fall and you've hit your head, be careful. Be careful about it. Look for the symptoms. Go in and get it checked out because you could have a small bleed in the brain. It happens and you don't even know it. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of that so that a bleed can reabsorb into your body. But if you don't know about it, it could be catastrophic. Avoid environmental pesticides. We talked about that a little bit before. Having good ventilation. These are things that stop your brain, that create havoc with your brain. Your low hormone levels, again, checking those things out. But the one I want to really focus on is stress. Who of us in this room has not experienced stress? Well, congratulations. We'd love to know how you do that. And I bet you a lot of that is balancing your life, taking things in stride. Chronic stress also changes the brain. And it doesn't change it in a healthy way. It lowers your attention span, your perception of how you see things in life. It creates short-term memory. One of the biggest stresses is a loss of an individual, some type of loss, where we go into grief. And grief has its own phases that we go in and out of with grief. But your short-term memory, again, can be affected for short-term, not always long-term. So we can always capture that back. It's making those healthy choices. But your ability to learn, you're disconnected. And the brain does that. It has nothing to do with your willingness or your willpower. It has to do with your stress of your body and what it's doing to the brain. Not to mention the physical, which, what happens, we may eat more, we may not eat. We may sleep too long, we may not sleep. All those things, as I talked about, again, goes back to insomnia, oxygen in the brain, oxygen in the body. So we want to make sure that we cannot reduce this by finding balance in our life. So we really want to control that. One way I know that I try to control my stress is not work on other people's time. No, not let other people run my life. Who's the best person that knows how you feel? Yourself. So if you feel that I give myself permission a lot of times not to see a client when I may need to see that person, but I know that I'm not in that frame of mind to go in and see somebody because of my stress level. So I will take a step back and I will do healthy things to find balance. I avoid spending time with unhealthy people. I make healthier choices. You know, life is shorter and shorter and shorter as we grow older. We only get a small amount of time to do what we need to do in this life. And as we grow older, that time, that gap shortens. So we want to make good decisions. Ways to engage in healthy brains, and these have all been studied, is to use food as medicine. Now, I know you might have heard that before, but it's so true. All the supplements that you have that we can take, you really don't need if you use food as your medicine, which means omega-rich foods. And these are brain food. This helps with the fats in the brain. This helps reduce all of that. The omega-rich foods, the green tea, berries, and leafy vegetables. They say that you want to eat like a gorilla. You know, I mean, we didn't, you know, we ate proteins, grains, nuts, but look at what kind that you're eating too. And I always say everything, you know, that we eat, you know, in moderation. And I also would like to say that you should check with your doctor. You know, many of us get regular checkups. I mean, those are important. The one I want to focus on most is water. Now, this is an interesting slide. Do you know how your body uses water? 90% of our blood, 90.7% of your blood is water. The brain, 85.5%. Your kidneys, your muscles, your bones. So when I talk about being properly hydrated, I talk about what water does for your brain. So I have a lot of 90-plus-year-old clients. So I had a 92-year-old client that rode his bike 6 miles. He didn't have any water. He was gone for an hour and a half. He came back in, and this 92-year-old walked in the house. I happened to be there because he has a 92-year-old wife that is also a little bit more ill than he is. He walked in, and I took one look at him, and I could tell that he was dehydrated. Before I could even get the words out of my mouth, he goes, "I feel really dizzy." So I said, "Well, let's sit down and let's have water." I don't like water.
Have a beer.
So, you know, it's the old thing, the secular circle of, I don't want to drink water because then I have to go to the bathroom a lot. Well, if you don't drink water, you're going to get dizzy, you're going to get dehydrated, and unfortunately, it creates the highest percentage of falls. You're going to fall. And then what happened? He fell after I left. He had a brain bleed. He hasn't been the same since. He's doing better, but it was his choice. And the brain, you know, the brain feels like putty. It sits in a very hard shell, and it's protected by water. And it's your cerebral spinal fluid. It goes around the outside of your brain and down into, it plays a very critical part of your brain. So this fluid is constantly being absorbed into your body. We need water to keep that flowing. And you never think about that. You know, you think more of physically that you're dehydrated and what can happen, but your brain needs it. 85% needs it. So drink, drink, drink.
What about more tea?
Tea is fine. Fluid is fine. Some people, you know, tea may have the caffeine, but green tea.
How about white wine?
Well, you know what? Folks, goes back to the toxins, so drink in moderation.
Okay.
You know, we're here to make healthy choices for ourselves. Doesn't mean that we can't live life and enjoy life. If you enjoy alcohol, drink in moderation. But also know that you need to do other things to get your body back to that balance that you need.
Doesn't caffeine reduce the effect of the water? What's the term? Diuretic. It's a diuretic.
Caffeine is a diuretic, which will also create you to go to the bathroom more, right?
Which means you're losing fluids.
Which is you're losing fluids, so therefore you need to keep drinking,
But not more caffeine.
not more caffeine. Also, caffeine will do what? Stimulate you so that you're not going to sleep well. So we go back to insomnia again, which looks like Alzheimer's disease in a brain scan. I mean, that really hit home when I was studying. It's like, wow, I never thought that lack of sleep would create that kind of vision in my brain for me. It really stayed with me. So exercise in the brain, be consistent, work out with a partner. It doesn't take but 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day. That's all you have to do. All we want to do is move. So when you get out of bed, even if you're just standing in place and you're doing this and you're stretching, whatever it may be, just move. It's always good to have a friend to walk with or a friend to go work out with. Lifting weights. If you don't have weights, use cans. You know, anything to lift weights. I've been going to the kitchen sometimes and I'll walk around and I'll just have a big can of soup or whatever. Just whatever it is that you can use to strengthen your muscles. This is it shows that when you exercise, the brain lights up. No exercise, there's not a lot of movement, there's not a lot of stimulation in the brain. So when the brain lights up, you're creating new cells. Here comes your ideas, here comes your creativity, here comes your ability to remember, because the hippocampus, which is real deep in the middle here, down below in your brain, is where you store all your memories, where you store all of your long-term and your short-term. So you want to be able to pull those up. You want to keep your hippocampus very healthy. It can reduce the chance of Alzheimer's disease. The other part is engage in brain smart learning. Now, when we talk about this, we're talking about not just doing, you know, crossword puzzles. No, I'm not saying they're bad. Believe me, they're great. But that only taps into one part of the brain. You've got to use the whole brain. Just like we exercise our whole body, we got to exercise our entire brain. So your word games, you know, I want to say something to word games on your phone. Everybody pretty much has a smartphone these days. You know, when you go into a doctor's office, instead of grabbing that magazine that's probably 2 years old, go on your phone and pull up your app. Get us Brain Smart. Pull it up. Do a word game on your phone. They're actually fun. And it's like creating words or whatever. There's so many to choose from now. And it's amazing how it will light up your brain. Meditation, they say it only takes 12 minutes a day to meditate. That's just calming your brain. Stop looking at television and the news right before you go to bed. Those 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock news set your brain off. Listen to some calm music or just lie there and think about your day. Think about gratitude, what you've done today, what you're grateful for, what you would like to do tomorrow. Calm your brain, because when you calm your brain, you're basically working on your coordination and your balance, and you're also helping just get everything back into a healing state. Memory games, as I talked about, is the hippocampus. And then dancing. Dancing is fantastic. They've done a lot of research on dancing with Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's. It really helps with balance and coordination. Again, we go back to aging gracefully. No one wants to take a fall, break a hip. You know, we want to keep our balance going. So when I say dancing, if you enjoy dancing, great. If you don't enjoy dancing or you aren't a dancer, then look at other ways for coordination. You know, stand next to your sink and just move your legs, whatever it may be. But hold on, you don't have to do things independently. You know, whatever it takes. And then learn something new. I'll tell you, it's very interesting. When you learn something new, you're really challenging yourself. You know, Sylvia just challenged herself by traveling. She took a cruise to Cuba, right? And just all the newness that she saw there. Her brain was really going. And it was creating all kinds of new connections. So traveling, learning something new, being around a lot of people. Before I get into this, well, I will get into this now, being connected and share your love. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about your attitude, because your attitudes are your thoughts, your emotions, your perseverance, and it's key to determining how you're going to age. Positivity is critical. As I said earlier, we have less error for not doing things. We have to be vigilant. So I want to quote Walter Borges in his book, Dare to be 100. To thine own self be true. Become to thine own self. Become to thine own best self and be true. So are you making excuses? So you want to not make excuses, but do healthy things. Elicit outside support. Use the power of connection. We're all here for each other. We are connected. This is family. We want to take the love that we have for each other and share it with others outside of us. We want to know what our intentions are. We want to love ourselves and be connected to each other. So in summary, I'd like to say that there are many ways to age gracefully, and it is possible. You can do it. Just like we know we can exercise to get our bodies all fit and everything, we can also exercise that brain. Take the responsible steps to create a positive and happy lifestyle. Accept your limitations, and this is critical. We all have challenges. It doesn't get easier, but it doesn't have to be illness and disability either. You know, we're all going to face challenges, and what we need to do is take the responsibility, learn how to cope with what life has given you. Because it is your choices, doesn't mean that you have to beat yourself up. It means that, okay, yeah, we could have done things differently, but this is what I have today. How can I make it the best I can? Challenge yourself and accept your limitations. And always remember, what are your intentions? Why do you want to be healthy? And I challenge all of you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our guest speaker? Wow. Okay, go ahead.
After we eat, someone told me it's good to go walking to your body and your stomach and everything. Is that right? Any comments?
I think walking is the best thing you can do. I mean, walking is, no matter when you do walking is movement. You've got to move. You got to move. And while you walk, look around at you and take in the beauty of our country. You know, because then you're also recognizing what's important to you. These are some of my intentions. a lady that had a stroke that for the first time decided that she'd sit outside and start reading again. An engineer that traveled around the world that had Alzheimer's disease, but celebrated his life. You know, my mom, my family, my grandmother. So you have to really look at what's important to you and challenge yourself to be around a long time in a healthier way than you can.
I've got a question.
Sure.
You know that sometimes you see on television, they advertise this, I can't think of the name of it. It's brain medication.
Aricept, Namenda.
Are those good to take?
I won't get into the medication because I'm non-medical, but you have to look at your doctor. They're there for certain things, and they only slow the progression of the illness. They do not stop it. And I just got back from a workshop at UCSF, the Neurological Center in San Francisco, and the #1 point that they were saying that is really, they're showing that is slowing the disease process of dementia is exercise and brain games. So, I mean, it's got to be fun because no one's going to do it if it's not.
Well, some of these advertise, they don't advertise for people that are already ill or anything like that or having problems. It's to enhance your brain power or something. I can't think of it.
Well, I go back to the organic way. I'm all about organic, not medication. If we can do it naturally, that's the best way. But you have to talk to your doctor because not everybody can take those kind of
She's
meds.
talking about
Remember, there's side effects.
She's talking about like supplements.
Oh, supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not talking about medication.
Supplements are good. Supplements are good. You just have to talk to your doctor and make sure that they're okay with your medication. Thank you. Thank you.